What up, what up, what up? Back at it again, Real Fan Podcast. We're here on Magnificent Thursday. We're here recording. I'm your boy Gabe. Down there, that's JoJo. Say what's up to JoJo and his... You got an 80s starter jacket. What is that?
Listen, man, we got to represent. A lot of news going on here in Miami, so I had to bring the South Beach vibes to you on this episode. You know, it's actually raining outside like a hurricane right now, so you know, I had to bring that shine here.
I know it's flooding where you're living at right now, man. It's tough. We're getting to the summertime, but that's my boy Julian over here. Julian wearing the fresh. Speaking of Miami, wearing the freshest, the pinkest of pinks. The flamingo. Is that the logo?
The flamingo. No, the heron.
The bandwagon.
The heron.
The heron.
Yeah.
Trust me, you didn't want to bandwagon this team like 2 months ago or last week.
Yeah. I mean, we gotta open up. We gotta talk about the biggest signing of the offseason. Talking about the biggest thing in South Florida. Okay, the biggest signing in South Florida is on the map
ever.
This is a sports town. Okay, we gotta talk about the signing of the chosen one to the Miami Dolphins. He signed wide receiver coming to the Miami Dolphins. The chosen. I'm just fucking with you. I'm fucking with Julian because
that was a bomb.
I like the misdirect.
You bomb.
I like the misdirect.
You got him on wide receiver. He said, "What in the disrespect?"
Chosen, whatever that dude's last name is.
The chosen one. No. We got. I got to bring it up real quick. Obviously, we're coming out the news after yesterday. Messi already signed with Inter Miami. Huge rumors going on, and it's like officially dropped video and stuff. And Inter Miami's dropping. So I just want to jump in real quick because they talked about it yesterday. I saw the video that you released on YouTube, Real Fans FC. You guys talked about it, but Julian, talk about the exciting news going on in Inter Miami.
Dude. I mean, yesterday was honestly a surreal moment. Like, it felt like I won a championship. It was like I genuinely feel like, and I'm not the only one that feels like this. Like, anybody who's been a U.S. soccer fan,
I can't relate.
Like,
no games have been played, by the way.
Like, if anybody who's a U.S. soccer fan and has been a part of this, like, this growth that's been happening over the past like 10 years, that's been happening in this country. Everybody realizes like how big of a catalyst this is going to be for the future. And it's like, it's another step in the right direction of where soccer in this country is going. Because to me, it's not just a signing. It's like, it's a chapter in a new page for this sport in this country. Is like, we had the Beckham era, which really ignited a lot of this stuff to what we see now. And what Messi's going to do is going to take that and just shatter it by like 100. Like,
no,
it's insane. And like being in that circle and being in that world and looking on like everybody's like, it just feels like such a surreal moment. It's something I've been hearing and talked about for years since like the inception of this club and David Beckham announcing that he wants to put a team here in Miami. Was always about, we're going to get someone big. It's going to be Ronaldo. It's going to be Messi. It's been happening for literally years. And to think that this day has finally came is just, it's surreal. It's honestly like, it doesn't even feel real. It's pretty wild to see the biggest athlete to ever exist is now going to be right down the street from me, which is pretty insane. This is the biggest signing in U.S. sports history. I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't even compare. You're talking about the biggest athlete to ever exist. The only one that even compares is when Pele signed in the 70s, but that's not even at the same level to what's going on now with Messi. Like, with the age of social media, coming off of a World Cup. I mean, and also to the time. I mean, this man just won a World Cup 6 months ago.
Yeah,
won a World Cup 6 months ago.
That's wild, yeah.
And he's coming here, and it's just. It's honestly a surreal moment. My phone was blowing up yesterday, messaging group chat. Like I barely worked yesterday. It was just so insane. And then obviously, like Gabe said, we did the Real Fans podcast, Real Fans FC podcast, delve deep on that. So if you guys want to know more about the nitty gritty of how we think he's going to fit into the squad, who's going to follow him. I mean, if you guys want to talk about that now, we can. But it's honestly, it's insane. The fandom is real. Like, I think this is now going to introduce people like JoJo and you, Gabe, for example, like how big this sport really is worldwide. Because I think a lot of people know soccer is the biggest sport, but they don't really understand like how big it really until
it's because
until
we
you
don't
start to like really
experience
get.
it here. Yeah. Like we
Yeah.
can see it on TV, we can hear about it, we can hear it on the radios, but we don't actually feel the excitement that everyone else feels. And like you said, maybe we will, come around, and as well
Yeah.
as we have World Cup coming into the United States in the next few years.
And Miami's going to be hosting. Yeah.
That excitement, and Miami's hosting, right? So, yeah, man. Right now,
Well,
Miami is the city of sports.
And
Yeah.
what
And
I not. Oh, go ahead, Gabe.
I was gonna say, I just want to give context too, because you put that story in the chat that we were talking about earlier. Like immediately, instantly, Inter Miami, their Twitter following group, like to 4 million instantly off of yesterday. And if you look at their season they're playing so far, they're not doing very well. They can still make it to a playoff run. If you look at the context of the summer for the Inter Miami team, they just fired Phil Neville. I don't know if you want to talk about that. I mean, the context of where the team is now and the signing, it's freaking huge. Now it's huge for Inter Miami. It's huge for MLS. And like I'm just excited in general this summer because I feel like South Florida sports teams right now and this summer is very hot. Like we got an NHL team, we got an NBA team. Marlins are doing okay. They're above 500. They got an exciting player. So South Florida sports is very exciting time to be in. Yeah. So I'm just very happy. Like I wish I could be in South Florida. Like I wish I could get a ticket. I'm gonna look for when it comes to Austin or Dallas or to Houston if Miami comes to play because I'm gonna want to see. I want to be a part of that kind of spectacle of having a huge player come play like that. So Julian, give more about that context of like the timing of all this.
Yeah. So as for the Austin stuff, I don't think we play any of the Texas teams this year for the rest of the year. So you're gonna have to be on the lookout beginning of next year as soon as the schedule drops. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's not just a Miami and South Florida thing. And you see it like in the soccer landscape, the soccer sphere. Like everybody from all over America is like super pumped, and Canada too. Like extremely excited because of what it means for everybody. I mean, all the teams that were playing in football stadiums have now like opened up the upper bowl. Normally, like Charlotte, for example, they just do the bottom bowl. They play in the same stadium as the Panthers. They just announced they're going to open up the whole top bowl. Chicago announced they're going to open up the whole top bowl. Who else do they play that has a football stadium? That plays in a football stadium. I don't know. I can't remember. But and this isn't just us that are seeing the ticket prices reflection. I mean, every team that we're playing away, they're seeing it for that specific game. Prices are shooting up. Like the amount of revenue that's going to bring to the game and to the teams and to the league and the eyeballs that are going to be put on the league is just insane. And also too, like it's more than just him coming here. It's what a lot of people have really been wanting in MLS is to kind of relax on the roster rules. People have been wanting the salary cap's been really low, and everybody thinks now this is a time that now that Messi has come and the eyeballs that's going to be and the amount of money that's going to be pumped into this league, that it's time to kind of unleash the shackles, let teams spend how they want, increase the salary cap. Because, like I said, when David Beckham came, new rules got implemented. So where now we started to see like even signing somebody like Messi is possible because of David Beckham coming here. So it's like, what could happen next? And a lot of people are really hoping that beginning of next year, the rules change drastically to where teams can spend freely. And I mean, Messi's just going to be the start, and it's going to be a lot of these big guys in Europe and South America coming over, and also just the potential tournaments and everything. It's insane. It's pretty wild. And I was talking about it on the last podcast. Like the 2020s, this decade, we're going to look back at this decade at the same way we look back at basketball in the 90s. How like basketball in the 90s really shaped how popular basketball is now. It took that Jordan era in the 90s to really make basketball one of the biggest sports in the world.
Yeah.
This is what I think this decade is going to do for soccer. Not only we're getting more expansion teams. Now we're up to 30 teams. Apple deal, which was massive, the first globally television deal in sports history across like MLS is the only league in the world where it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you watch it on Apple. It's not like that for anybody else. The announcement of Messi coming, the Copa America, the announcement of now combining North and South America. Because do you guys know what Copa America is?
I know I kind of know.
Yeah. So in 2024, they're now combining it with North. It's basically a World Cup for just each
region.
Like we have, for each continent. So North and South America are now combining to compete with the Euros, which is next year, which the Euros is like their mini World Cup in a sense for people who don't understand. So with the Copa America coming to the United States in 2024, like the amount of eyeballs and views that people that going to be able to go to that game. And then on top of that, to end it all off in 2026, we're having the World Cup here. And then also whatever MLS decides to do with like roster flexibility. So it's like this decade is going to be massive, and it's going to, I think it's going to inspire a lot of kids to like watch soccer, grow up loving soccer, have the ability, like when I was growing up, and it's part of the reason why most Americans aren't soccer fans, it just wasn't accessible. You really had to look for it. You get the World Cup every 4 years, and like even like Barcelona, you couldn't watch every game. Nowadays, I can watch every single Barcelona game. I can watch every single Champions League game. I can watch every single English Premier League game. Like that stuff is available now. So like now these kids are growing up having the availability to actually watch these sports, which I think is going to shape a lot of the future. And I mean, that's why I think eventually the United States men's national team could be very competitive on a world stage, because now we're getting more eyeballs, more fans. Kids are growing up. I believe soccer has already surpassed hockey as one of the most popular sports. It's not bigger than the NHL yet. Yeah. Yeah, in the US. It's not bigger than the NHL yet in terms of like league to league, but as to just the sport and interest in the sport, soccer is already more popular than
I thought it would have been, to be honest.
And it's coming up on baseball. It's really close to baseball, to where like when they run surveys on like kids, and I think soccer has the youngest average age fan out of all four major sports.
Yeah, I actually thought hockey would be bigger than or more popular than hockey, because I feel like the accessibility to play hockey, right? It's kind of tough, right? It's an expensive sport to play.
I feel like it's regional, right? It's only played in like cold countries, cold places.
And I feel like it's not played in like very urban areas as well, right? Because who has the money in these areas to?
I think the thing is in those areas where soccer is, I think the thing is the areas where hockey is big. It's big, like versus there's not really that yet for like soccer. It's starting to become in certain places. Like, I mean, you look at some of these cities and
they play hockey. That's it. It's like 9 out of 10. That would be their favorite sport in those areas.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. And like to me, obviously from a team aspect, I'm so pumped to see him come to like my favorite team. I've been there since day one. I'm not a bandwagon fan. I'm already starting to see them coming in. Already starting to see these guys coming in. But I've been there since day one through the struggle times. And I'm not just happy for like as an Inter Miami fan. I'm just happy as like an American soccer fan, like what this can mean. Like, so.
Yeah. And I feel like, like we talk about the eyes, right? There's going to be a lot of eyes on Inter Miami. There's going to be a lot of eyes on MLS in general, like wherever he goes. And also like how you mentioned earlier, like also like kids looking international. I think one of the biggest things, like Christian Pulisic being an American player, playing well in the English Premier League, like that's one thing we look for. Is like, okay, are we crossing over? Like, is our talent level at a level that we can cross over to? Because it seems like all the eyes are on Europe or World Cup and stuff. And it's like, does America have that level of talent that we can cross over up to a higher level? Also, internationally, can they look at MLS and be like, oh, this is actually legit, like players are coming? I don't know, Julian, if you want to talk about like Julian kind of went off a little bit.
I can still hear my camera.
Okay. But like some of the biggest players are, because my stepping stone into MLS in general was Orlando City. I lived in Daytona for a little bit, so there's not really a lot of sports. You got to either go to Jacksonville or you go to Orlando, and the only sport they have in Orlando besides the Magic is Orlando City. So I remember Kaká coming over. I remember Zlatan being a big thing.
That was huge. Kaká.
But Beckham coming to US. So like as far as like international players coming to the MLS, like this is the pinnacle? Do you feel like this is the pinnacle? And because to me, I feel like this allows, if Messi can come to the MLS, I feel like this allows permission to other players, other international players, other stars like Mbappe maybe when he gets old and can't run or something. Like this allows them permission to come to the MLS and like, give their celebrity, give their shine, give their clout to the MLS. So like as far as like international players that have come to the MLS, this is the biggest, right?
Yeah, and I don't think there'll ever be anybody bigger, to be honest with you. I mean, at the end of the day, Messi's arguably the greatest of all time, one of the biggest names to ever walk this planet in general, outside of just sports. The thing, and that's why I kind of go back to like what this means for like MLS has to change its rules to be able to really get top level talent. And
you need to be able to pay them.
Yeah, you got to be able to pay these guys. You got to be able to, like I said, kind of drop the shackles and let people spend. Maybe don't go super overboard because at the end of the day, you're 100 years behind Europe. They've been doing this shit since the late 1800s. You're just naturally going to be behind. But we're building fast due to the nature of America, one of the strongest economies, if not the strongest economy in the world. Like, we're able to catch up, and we have that ability, and we have the capability to lure talent. And talent is coming over here younger because you don't want to turn into what Saudi Arabia is trying to be what MLS was in 2012. And MLS has done a really good job of trying to shed that stigma about them of getting like a retirement league. It's
exactly.
You're getting players and you're getting people.
I was, as a casual, and I'm like, hey, people only come here to retire.
But now it's starting to become, people are coming here younger and younger. I know you guys wouldn't know, but in Toronto, they signed big name Italian players in their late 20s, early 30s. And that was a huge deal. I mean, these guys could easily still play another 5 to 6 years in Europe.
And even somebody like to Toronto, then, like, do you know any details on that? Like, how were they able to do that?
My thought process. So Italy, Italy just came off of winning the Euros, but then they didn't qualify for the World Cup, and a lot of people were like, if they didn't qualify, my thought process, my guess is they didn't qualify for the World Cup. Most likely, they're going to probably be too old and not get picked for the following World Cup in 2026. So they're like, let's just go over to the United States. And they got paid a good amount of money. The player in Toronto, he's the highest paid player ever in MLS. So, and I think year after year, we're going to keep on doing that. And MLS building academies to be able to ship players off at 18, 19 years old, ship them off to Europe, let them develop over there. Is a big part of like helping development here. It's like you got to get them out quickly. You got to like you bring them up through the academies, and then once you see talent and promise by like 18 to like 22 years old, you got to ship them off, get the money that you can from them, because at the end of the day, soccer kind of works like an economy. You got to get your transfer fees. So like that's another thing too. Is like a lot of these homegrown kids and these kids that work their way up through the academy to the first team, if they can show off, and with a game against Messi, where there's probably going to be hundreds of millions of eyeballs watching it, that's going to increase their value, and then they can get, and then the team can then enter Miami is like, all right, this player's worth $40 million to me. Chelsea buys them $40 million. Now all that money's coming to Inter Miami, and then they can use that to reinvest into other players. So it's all about that transfer market, So
it's definitely going
to escalate the level for everybody.
Different players, right, to different leagues in soccer. That's like normal.
So you have winter and the winter and the summer transfer window. So we're signing Messi. Messi's going to come in at the end of the summer transfer window once the transfer window is closed. Because MLS, we have a little bit more of a backwards schedule where we play from February to November. The rest of the world, they play like a standard, like kind of like basketball. They play from September to May. So we have a summer schedule. They play in a winter. But the problem is here, a lot of the climate is very tricky. Like you can't play in Minnesota in a January game. Like it's going to be freezing and probably not safe to be outside. So in return, like MLS, there's like this weird conundrum because most of the top players in Europe, their contracts end in summer because at the end of the year. So when we sign players from Europe or internationally anywhere, they're coming in the middle of the season for us. So that's why Messi's coming into the middle of the season.
Got it. So
And
honestly,
that-
I mean,
that-
but
that
that's
was-
pretty beneficial to us then, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they offset the season so that way European players could
Yeah.
possibly come over, even though it's in the middle of the season. But that way, you're not
Yeah.
overlapping Europe versus
Because
US.
it's not that you can't get players in the winter, but imagine like the winter transfer window in like Europe is kind of similar to like the NBA trade deadline. It's kind of like, yeah, like you can make moves, you can get players, transfer them over, but like the real big signings happen in the summer in the off season. In a way, for lack of a better analogy.
I got a few questions for the organization for Inter Miami, right? So now you got the best player in the world, according to you, best athlete to ever walk this planet. So is this like a do or die season for Inter Miami? Like if you guys don't win the championship, like was this a failed season? You got the greatest player to ever walk this planet. Like what are the expectations for the team? How are you guys feeling? I think everyone's just more excited than anything, and maybe I'm thinking ahead, but it's like, when LeBron, came to Miami, right, and he made the decision, or KD deciding to go to Golden State, right, along the lines of that. Like, so what is that looking like? Like, what happens if you guys? What are expectations going into this season?
Yeah, so I mean, for the second half of the season, I think the goal is just to get to the playoffs, get into the dance. Right now, you're in last place, but we're in last place, but we're only 6 points behind the playoff line. So 2 wins, you're in there. MLS there's a lot of parity. There's the table is super close right now. You can win one game and go up 5 spots. Everything is super close.
The
right
West was in the NBA this season. You win a game or two, you're jumping up 3-4 seeds.
And that's what makes the MLS unique in a way compared to the rest of the leagues. Like you look at the rest of the leagues around the world, especially Europe, you're going to have your power guys that are Barcelona's, your Real Madrid's, your Chelsea's, your Man United's. Like those guys are always going to be fighting for. They're always there. They have the most money. It's kind of like college football in a sense. Like there's no like salary cap there. MLS, since we have a salary cap, there's a lot more parity. The worst team can beat the best team, kind of like football in a way, American football. So, like I said, the goal is to get to the playoffs. And I think most like diehard fans, their goal is just like, look, get us to the playoffs. Next season, that's when we start going all in because now we got our full roster squad. Messi is not going to be the only thing that happens this summer. We're going to get more players, 100%. There's been a lot of injuries on the team. So they're going to we've been playing a lot of young academy kids. So they're probably going to get knocked out for like a veteran that can come in here and actually win some games for us. I think for me, there's 2 tournaments that are going to happen throughout the regular season. We have the Leagues Cup tournament and then the U.S. Open Cup. Inter Miami last night just played in the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open Cup, which is essentially a domestic tournament. Like imagine a March Madness, but all levels can play in it. It's essentially what it is. We made it to now the semifinals. So, and that semifinals game is going to be played in August. So to me, the goal is try to win U.S. Open Cup. If you win U.S. Open Cup, that guarantees you into the Champions League, where you go up against the top champions of Mexico, Central America, Canada, and all that, which will then get you into the Club World Cup if you can win that, where you play teams from all over the world. So you can win that tournament. That'd be great. And then as for the other tournament, if you can get into the top 3, you then also still qualify for the Champions League. So my thing is if you can get a run into, that's probably your best chance of getting some silverware this year is try to get into the tournament. Try to make a run in these tournaments. And then as for the U.S. Open Cup, you're already making a run. Try to finish it. And then as for the MLS season and the MLS League, try to make the playoffs. So that's kind of like me. It's nothing. And I really think we can win the U.S. Open Cup. I think that's a strong possibility. But
Nah.
I think the thing is really going to come next year. That's going to be like the chance to try to go for a title, try to make a run in the Champions League, try to get some silverware if you don't get any this year.
Yeah, and they've been making moves as far as roster wise. I know they've been trying to set some cap space, and eventually they might get Busquets. But you're gonna check that out, Real Fans FC, because that's what they do. They're soccer. Julian's our soccer expert, so I just wanted to let him come in here and vent and all his excitement for.
If you guys want to see more detailed,
I want to hear your 2 cents. I want to hear Gabe's 2 cents. Man, how do you feel about Messi? Does it hit your heart? Do you genuinely care?
Listen.
Is it kind of look forward to
In general, I thought he was a kind of an overrated guy. Let me just say, I thought he was a little bit overrated, kind of like Chris Paul, a little bit overrated. Long veteran, big. But you know what? He showed out. He showed out in the World Cup.
One of the most successful players to ever live, but he's overrated.
But I'm happy. I'm happy for South Florida. I'm happy that we got something to root for as far as
Ronaldo here. I mean, you got Messi here. I'm a big Messi fan, obviously, but like, I don't know. A lot of people here listening could argue that Ronaldo could be the greatest athlete to ever walk this planet, or biggest
he's
football player, aka soccer.
Ronaldo's top 5, but he's not the best. He's not.
And there's lots of talk because he's been very upset with him.
You gotta stir up the pot a little bit.
With the talk about Saudi Arabia, obviously Cristiano Ronaldo went over there, but he's been very upset and wanted to come. And I've been just hearing rumors that he might come to MLS next year, possibly.
Once his contract's up. I think he is. I think it's 100%. I think
Ronaldo's gonna come next.
I think when he's done with his contract in Saudi Arabia, all the reports are saying that he hates it there. He got a fuck ton of money to go there, $400 million over the course of 2 years.
But
which is insane. And he's the type of guy who never wants to retire. He wants to play forever, kind of like a Zlatan. So I 100% believe, and he almost did. He almost went to Kansas City of all cities. Apparently, Patrick Mahomes was trying to help make that happen. Out of all cities, he would have thought Kansas City. But I really think he's looking at this Messi thing, and I think he can get a very similar deal. Look, the only 2 players that will ever get the deal Messi got will be Messi himself and potentially Ronaldo. You don't give that deal to anybody else. Those are the only 2 guys that is worth giving that kind of deal, which I don't know if you guys know the deal, but he's basically getting revenue share of Apple TV season pass. He's getting revenue share with Adidas on jersey sales. Yeah. Then he's getting Inter Miami salary, and then also potential ownership of whatever MLS franchise, whether it be a future
and I was thinking that's the only way you could afford that man to get him over here. So that's why
what happened with Beckham.
And he turned down
the game. You can afford
when Apple made that deal. You're like, you had a feeling that he was gonna come over here because now I think
Apple knew what's up.
People can view the games globally, all right, and Messi's
anywhere in the world you watch on Apple TV.
Yeah, that's gonna be insane. And revenue
share.
That's why I think the Apple thing was strategic. I really did. I was like, people were roasting Apple for paying MLS that much money, but I'm like, look, there's a bigger thing at play here. And I really think it's Messi and bringing in Adidas, which Adidas is the kit sponsor for MLS.
Premier,
now with the Apple thing, and then MLS is still going to want to expand. There's a lot of talks of putting a team in Las Vegas. That could be his thing. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean. San Diego last week just announced a new expansion team. So San Diego's getting a new team over there. They just paid an entrance fee into the league of $500 million. That team now is going to be worth probably, once they get on the field, close to $1 billion. So I mean, even if you give Messi
doubled
30% of that team, that's what happened. Beckham, I believe, owns 25% of the team. When he came, they gave him a grandfather deal that you can cash in a franchise wherever city you want for a flat rate of $15 million. Now the team, who knows how much Inter Miami is going to be valued at by the end of the year. I mean, probably over $1 billion. So, I mean, and he only paid $15 million for it. That's insane. So, and then obviously Messi declined the $1.6 billion offer.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. He has a lot of money.
So I was waiting for that to be brought up here. My man's really dropped like 1 point whatever billion to come to the United States. So I'm like, there's had to be something going on behind the scenes that we weren't aware of. But hearing what they're giving him in his contract and all these percentages, it makes a lot of sense now. And I guess it wasn't about the money, right? Doesn't he have a home here in Miami as well? Right.
Well, that was the thing. And he even came out yesterday with a video. It's like, at the end of the day, he was always going to make more money with Saudi Arabia. Like, I don't think he'll ever recoup the money that he would have got paid with $1.6 billion. That's an insane amount. MLS just couldn't compete with that. But what MLS could compete with is giving him something familiar to home, like coming and playing in the capital of Latin America, in a place where you feel comfortable to grow up, like raise your kids. They can go to school here. You can go in a place that's you're familiar with. Like, going over to the Middle East, that's a whole different world.
Oh yeah, that's one thing I heard about. It's like very restrictive.
And
you have to
he
follow
said
the
too,
Saudi rules. So
yeah, and he said too, like he wanted his kids to like he wanted to come here because then his kids can learn English. He can come over here and be able to be around other Argentinians and like other Latin America. It's a more familiar culture.
Yeah.
He has property here. It was more of kind of like, I think this is the closest thing he's going to get to playing in Argentina, because at the end of the day, none of those teams would ever, in Argentina would never be able to afford him. So it's like, this is the closest thing he will ever get to that, with all the Argentines here in South Florida. And then just, the culture and everything being so familiar. So, yeah, I mean, I think too, as somebody like him, I feel like, I mean, dude, when you've made like $400 million, your life is not changing versus like you have 1.6 billion. Yeah. Like there's very little, like your lifestyle is not going to change. Whether you have 500 million
aside from
to 1.5 billion.
Generational wealth, but I get it. Yeah. Aside from lifestyle,
I mean,
that is generational wealth that can take,
it won't change
generations to build, you know what I mean?
And I've heard that from billionaires.
Especially in his career right now, like you said, the familiarity, like who'd want to uproot everything, go over there? Like Ronaldo, you said he's not too happy right now, so I could imagine. And he's probably comparing the situations and would probably end up over here.
He probably will. I think he might go to LA or New York or something. That'd be insane.
And Messi gets to take a whole US tour, man, going into these nice fancy arenas and stadiums that we have, going to New York City, going to LA to play. Like he's been in Europe, pretty much his whole career. So I think that'll be a really dope experience for him as well in his second chapter.
And that's the thing. That's what makes MLS so much like more prepared than when Beckham came. When Beckham came, there was no infrastructure. None of that shit was built. There's only like a couple soccer specific stadiums. Now we have 29 teams, like 25 soccer specific stadiums with training facilities, academies, all this other stuff. That shit didn't exist in the 2000s. And that's what made the Beckham thing so cataclysmic, was that this spurred this whole like thing of like, all right, let's reinvest into our arenas, our stadiums, because playing in a football stadium sucks. The atmosphere sucks playing in a football stadium that you can't fill up. Let's make our own specific stadiums that seat 20 to 30,000 people and have an actual strong atmosphere, because even though 30,000 people in a football stadium versus 30,000 people in a soccer stadium, that soccer stadium is going to feel way more bumping than it would be in a football stadium, because you don't have all that emptiness around you that you couldn't fill up the whole thing. So I think now it's like even more things are in place now to.
So since we're on the top of the stadiums, now you got to, obviously the best player in the world, like you stated. When is Miami getting their own stadium? What are the plans of that?
From what I heard,
Miami, like, were they waiting for this Messi deal to unfold?
I think they were.
You know what I mean? And
so
they're gonna have to build a certain capacity to fill up all these fans that want to see him play.
So Miami Freedom Park is still on track to be open 2025. I don't think that's going to happen. Apparently, they cleared out the golf course, the Mel Reese. They took out the tenants, but apparently there's been no bulldozing yet. I haven't driven by there, Jojo. You live closer. You probably seen it, but I don't know if they demolished that golf course yet.
What I heard was the lease doesn't start until they actually break ground and start actually digging dirt out. That's when the actual lease starts for.
But I literally just saw today that they're still expecting to play there in 2025. And I'm like, because they're not just building a stadium, they're building a whole complex with a park and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you're going to do that in not even 2 years, a year and a half? Like, I mean, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
It might be 3 years. It might be 3 years before they actually play in Miami.
They're gonna be pushing it, because Messi's contract, I think, is only 2.5 years. So unless he decides to extend or whatever, like he might not even be able to play in that stadium if they don't get started like soon. So we'll see. And I don't know about the Hard Rock thing, because there's a lot of he's not playing in the Hard Rock, because people are saying that. I mean,
and from what I heard is like the Moss family, they don't want to pay Stephen Ross. You know what I mean? Because they don't want to give the Dolphins money for getting, for acquiring Messi.
All the work they put in. Yeah. All the work they put in. Even though I still think, even if they went to that stadium, even if you had to give Stephen Ross a cut, they're still going to make more money than what they would be at Drive Pink. But you're still coming across the issue of schedule conflict, because who else plays on Saturday nights? in Hard Rock Stadium.
Football. UM.
So it's impossible. Like unless UM moves, like it's just not going to work. So he's going to be playing in Drive Pink. Like I don't see it happening unless they can make it work next year, where it's like, all right, you have UM games away, and that, like if you can make it work. But as for this year, they're not moving. They're not moving this year. There's no way. The schedule conflict, because MLS plays on Saturday nights, college football, like it's not going to work. But potentially for next year, if they can line up the schedules to where like they do with Yankee Stadium, which is a abomination that they allow a soccer team to play there. But unless they can make that work,
it works. It works.
It doesn't. Everybody hates the fact that they play soccer. That pitch is so small. It's atrocious.
I don't see Inter Miami coming to Miami until like maybe three or 4 years. Like it's going to be a while till they actually like have the whole stadium. They might have a basic bone stadium there, but till it's like fully fledged out what the vision is, it's going to be like a while.
Unless they do that, unless they build out the stadium and then like, all right, you guys can play while we're building the rest of it. But man, I don't know, man. That's a quick turnaround. I'm really curious to know like what's the holdup? Like why haven't they started?
I think it's lease. I think it's lease because they have a contract, and once they break down, that's when the lease starts. So that's when they have to start paying for the property and obviously bulldozing and doing construction and stuff. So I think they've been holding off, but now I think now they're definitely going to start now that they have.
I saw a tweet. Somebody was like, "Man, Messi's going from playing in the Parc des Princes and the Camp Nou to now playing at Dry Pink Stadium."
Yeah,
and like PSG and Camp Nou, Camp Nou in Barcelona and PSG and Parc des Princes. Those are like classic, like historic stadiums in the middle of like these historical.
Messi's gonna have his fan base of whopping 10,000.
Someone's like, "Man, Messi's really about to play off Commercial Boulevard right now."
Because they have
7 goals with his fan base of 5,000 capacity there at Dry Pink.
I remember seeing the story.
The capacity is 18K as of right now. So unless they do something.
Broward had a problem with their driving because they don't have any parking garage. It's all grass up there. So I remember Broward
actually
complaining.
Just happened.
Yeah.
This week they closed off one of the main lots because they're supposed to build a park there, but they haven't. And a lot of people in Miami that were against the stadium build and the whole Miami Freedom Park, they're like, look, they haven't even done it in Fort Lauderdale yet. What makes you think that they're going to get this done here? So I don't know. I mean, a lot of people were upset about the parking thing, but a lot of people get it. So Fort Lauderdale the city just completely shut them off from parking it there, fenced it off. They're like, you can't park here anymore until you build this park or whatever.
Damn. We'll see, man. It's exciting. Exciting time in South Florida. Speaking of exciting times in South Florida, I mean, we're in the middle of playoffs, hockey playoffs, NBA playoffs. But let's talk about the hockey team right now because it's a little low, man. It's rough. It's rough for the Panthers.
Not looking too good for you boys right now.
I see the Panthers going down. They lost. Vegas has the home ice advantage. Went down 2-5, and the last game was 2-7, which was pretty much devastating. I know you guys haven't seen much of it, but let's talk about real quick the Panthers. Running this series, they're playing as we record this today. They're playing tonight, so other games might be played by the time you see this.
This game is here in South Florida, correct? Tonight.
Yeah, it's here tonight. They play at 7 or 8 o'clock for y'all, 6 o'clock for y'all. I'm sorry, I'm doing my Texas time. I got to do the math when I hang out with y'all. But yeah, the Panthers are on a run. Obviously, probably the most unexpected season of the year. They go down to the Vegas Knights. And to me, in this series, I feel like the Vegas Knights are a bit of a deeper team. These games are played tough, man. Hockey is a tough sport. Every time I watch it, man, these guys are skating fast. They're hitting each other. Pretty rough. At one point coming into the series, I felt like Bobrovsky was the hot goalie. But with these past couple of games, giving up 5-7 goals, it's a pretty tough for this series. So, Julian, I want to go to you. How do you feel about the Panthers going forward as far as the rest of the series? Because I feel like they're tough now. These are like must-win games. You lose 2 away in Vegas. I feel like these are must-win games that you have to win if you want to get a chance to take away the series.
No, yeah. Even Matthew Tkachuk came out today saying he's like, if we lose tonight, it's over. So, yeah, you have to win tonight. It is crucial that you win tonight. You can't you cannot drop this game. Like you cannot go 3-0 in a series. Like you have to at least pull this one out you got to win these next 2 home games. Even if you split, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because we've already seen this season that you can come back from a 3-1 deficit. But
definitely possible.
I think the series, you got to treat this game like a game 7. Like, to me, it's like if you drop this game, it's essentially over. Like, you gotta win this one. So to me, it's super crucial that you win this game because the past 2 showings in Las Vegas was rough. It was honestly really rough to watch. I mean, they've gotten blown out. They haven't looked competitive. They had a tie game, and then I looked away. They scored 3-2. Then I looked away again, and it was 4-2. I'm like, yeah. And then I shut off the game. I was like, it was right at the third period started too. Right when the third period started, and I'm like, this is insane. So, yeah, I mean, tonight's a really big game. It's a huge game. I hope they can pull it off. I think they can. They've been really strong at home. I'm really surprised they didn't steal one away from Vegas because they've been so strong away. Yeah. But you got to pull these ones off at home. I'm going to go to the watch party for Game 4. I couldn't go today, but I definitely want to try to go to the watch party outside of the arena on Sunday, I believe is the game. So,
yeah. Yo, did you go into that last one that you threw in the chat?
No, so they're all what I was telling you. So the Panthers, what they're doing is on the away games, they're doing the watch parties in the arena
at BBT, right?
That's inside of it. So inside of it, but then on the home games, they're still doing the watch parties, but they're doing it outside on the wall of the arena. So that's why I was asking if you wanted to go to one of probably this. I was probably thinking of going to the Sunday one, and seeing Game 4 right outside the arena. So, yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
I wish I was there because I would definitely go. Like I said, I'm very, regardless of how this season ends up, very proud of the season for the Panthers. It's just tough to, and they play hard, man. I was on fucking pins and needles. Game 2, I watched through the second half, but it was storming over here in Austin. I had to leave a bar and come home, and the fucking game got away from them. And hockey's such a tough sport, and definitely tons of injuries on both sides. But I feel like Vegas is a little bit deeper the way they play. They've had problems with goaling on defense that the defensive players are masking the goalie, so the goalie cannot see where the movement is happening, and it's like you're not helping your team out. You're not helping Bobrovsky out, who's been playing very well. Like I said, I wanted to sell Bobrovsky for the last 2 years. I'm like, this guy overrated, can't pay him. But through this playoffs, he's been very reliable. And these last 2, I would say, especially the last game. Last game was tough, man. They gave, I think they gave Kachuk like 3 10-minute majors, some tough penalties that they had to go through. So yeah, to me, like you said, Julian, a must-win game. You have to clear this game at the very least, because it's not looking good. It's not. I'm not as encouraged as I was heading into the series.
By the way, shout out to that night. I know you saw it. That save by that night goaltender.
Oh yeah, that was an early goal. That was an early save. That was really good.
That's the best save I've ever seen in my life. That shit was insane. Jojo, did you see that? I'm sure it was all over like TV and everything. That save that Golden Knights goalie had. It was. Yeah, he blocked it with the stick. Yeah, he was like, he fell to the side. Well, he went to the side, and then they crossed it over, and so he just laid out and put it. That shit was. That was the greatest save I've ever seen. Like that shit was insane. Crazy.
It sucks because 1, it's the most amazing thing you've ever seen. 2, it's against the team you're rooting for. You're like, your fuck, team. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was fucking Bob. I would have lost my shit. I was like,
you're like, why can't something happen for us? Like, why can't somebody on the Panthers do something like that?
That goalie for Golden Knights is really good too.
Big losses though. Yeah. Like, I mean, how do you feel like, with the huge, difference in goals the first 2 games? Like, how's your confidence coming home? Can you guys keep it close?
I mean, listen.
Are they just that good offensively? Like,
I feel like this series has been the Florida Panthers have kept it close, and they're able to win these games, right? Kachuk will come in late, or we have Cousins will come in and score a late goal or something. So they've kept it close, and they always win it late in games. But once you get blown out, it's like, man, the competitor in me is like, yo, if you lose by 2 goals, you lose by 1 goal, you lose by 4 goals. It's all the same shit, right? You lose. Losing is losing. But you hope that you can build on some kind of confidence going to the next game. Like, once you give up like 4 or 5 goals on a goalie, like that's kind of debilitating, like mentally, psychologically for the goalie. So obviously they pulled him and they put in Alex Lyon for the game. So I hope Bobrovsky can come back and lock in. These guys can lock in and turn it around, because like I said, the series, you had to at least split. All right, series don't start until the away game wins a team. The away team wins a game, and going forward, like I said, regardless of how this ends, it's looking very grim right now. Maybe maybe I'll get a little bit more confidence maybe after this game, but I'm still proud of the Spanish team. I'm proud of the season. I'm proud of what they were able to accomplish. They were turn around the end of the season and go on this long run. They beat the best team. They beat the Maple Leafs. They beat Carolina, which are as a top team. So I'm just happy overall. I want to be grateful for the season that we have, and I hope they can turn around. That I'm just hoping that I'm just keeping a little sliver of hope.
I hope they can do it, because I don't think they're going back next year.
Wow.
I don't think they are, but I hope they can get it done this year. I hope they can
get it done.
Oh man,
yo, listen, it could be the next 15 years, man. Knock on wood that they make it.
Yeah, you never know.
Right?
How many times have you seen
as a wild card, like you said, right? Like that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
So you've gone, 1 through 7, right, above you that didn't
beat the odds. They beat every time they beat the odds.
So, you know what I mean? Who knows? Maybe Boston, they'll bounce back next season, win the whole thing, right? That's worst case scenario for you guys. You got to get it done while you're here. So
yeah, you don't want to be like the 2017 Jags where you thought you had it, and then the next year you just completely shit the bed for the next 5 years.
But then y'all got what's the name of the coach? What's the guy? Anyways, we're not talking about Jags. Let's talk about the other.
We're gonna talk about them.
Let's talk about the other playoffs going on, the NBA playoffs.
So before we start with the playoffs, and this is basketball related, I do want to give my fact, a question, trivia time.
Okay.
All right, you guys ready?
Okay.
What do we got?
Sure.
So who are the top 5 highest scorers in NBA Finals history? Most points scored in the NBA Finals. Yeah, across their career.
Right. So
across their career.
Let me start by saying LeBron James has to be on that list.
Because he's a LeBron
That's one.
fan.
You don't have to worry about order. You don't have to worry about order.
Okay.
So 1.
How about one of the greatest champions of all time? Let's go Bill Russell.
Bill Russell is 6. So no.
See? All right.
Jordan has 6, so you got to go with Jordan.
Jordan is 2. 1 you're not going to get 100%. But the other 2 you can. So if you give me the other 2, I'll give you the 5th one, because the 5th one you're not going to know.
Go in Kobe Bryant.
Yeah,
no.
Gotta go.
Wow.
Kobe's actually lower than you think.
Okay.
How about Robert Horry? Robert Horry was in a lot of playoffs. He must have scored a lot of points. Robert Horry.
We're talking finals.
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 Talking about final.
Finals.
I mean, he got 6 rings.
He's not even on the list. I don't know.
No.
Steph Curry.
That's just a random guess. All right,
Nope.
scores. I'm thinking scores. Okay, so not Curry? No.
Nope.
Damn, not Curry. All
He's
right.
right behind LeBron. Curry's right behind. He's 10 points behind LeBron. I mean, not LeBron. 10 points behind Kobe. My bad.
Yo, give me Shaq.
Shaq is right behind Curry.
Shaq hasn't been in a lot of finals.
Wow.
Curry just passed.
Wow.
Shaq.
See?
Damn, so we're right there. What are we missing, Gabe?
Man, I got to think of old people. I'm trying to think of old people.
They're older
Hakeem
players.
Olajuwon.
They don't play.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Nope.
Olajuwon.
Yo, give me
Nope.
my boy Tim Duncan.
Nope. That's a good guess, but nope.
Damn.
Magic Johnson.
Got a
Magic
couple
Johnson.
titles.
Urban Magic Johnson.
Magic is above Kobe, so no. He's above
passes
Kobe.
the ball. He's probably up there with assists. He's up there with assists. All right, man. You're going to have to give us errors here. Give us some errors. Like how far back we talking? Like 90s,
Okay.
80s,
80s?
70s?
So 1 is in the 80s.
All right, so we talking, did you say Wilt Chamberlain?
Yeah, he said no. I said no. He said
All
Wilt.
right, so you already said
So you said Bill Russell. But either way, it's both no.
Oh, no, yeah, he
Isaiah-
didn't say Wilt.
Isaiah Thomas? They won a couple
Nah.
championships.
No, did they? No, I didn't.
He only
Did
has
they
two
win?
titles.
Yeah.
Isaiah only has
Yeah,
two
but
titles.
Come on,
He beat Jordan.
it's easier than you think.
All right, yo, give me Pippen.
No,
Tim
come on,
Duncan.
it's simple.
I said to him.
You want
Duncan.
another hint?
What?
He's the
All right,
highest
yeah,
scorer of all time as well. I think he is. Shit, I don't know.
I mean, LeBron
Goddamn,
just
now
passed.
you
him.
can.
Okay, yeah. So before LeBron, yeah. No, Gabe. No computer.
Nah, I'm typing. Ah, that's right. Okay, I got it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
That's 3. He's number 2 all time.
That makes sense.
I mean, he's number 3 all time. He's number 3. That's what I said. It's easier than you think. It was.
Yeah,
It was like who was the highest?
I can't believe I
All
drew a
right,
blank on
you
that
got one more, and I'll give you the 5th one because you're just not going to know the 5th one. But yeah, one more, and he played in the 60s.
60s.
Played in the
Shit.
60s.
You know this player.
Fucking Bob Cousy? Who the fuck is this player? Who the fuck played in the 60s?
Yo,
Listen,
Gabe,
bro, I don't know about no 60s.
back in the day, to be honest.
You want another
Played
hint?
in the 60s.
He's the
Give
NBA
us the
logo.
team.
Sure.
Ha.
Oh, West.
Jerry West. And then the 5th one is Alinge Baylor, which I've never heard of that man in my life.
Elgin
I've
Baylor.
heard.
So
Elgin Baylor.
yeah, so in order, it's Jerry West, LeBron, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, and Elgin Baylor.
Yo, how many
And you know
points
what's
has
crazy?
Jerry West scored in the finals? And LeBron's been to 10 straight or 10 finals.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's
Who
insane.
has
why
the
he's the
most
logo, man.
points?
That's why he's the
And
logo.
but Jordan leads in almost every category. The only reason why Jordan is only 4th is because he played 20 less finals games. Jordan only played 35 finals games, which is pretty fucking insane to think he is
That's
the
Well,
like how he like how that like that kind of puts in perspective how good he had 20 less games than Jerry West, LeBron, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And he had
if
he
you would have
had-
played those 2 years, I mean, it's 16 wins to
He
a
has
championship, so you would have played those
Bill-
2 years.
Bill
That's
Russell
16
plays-
times 2, 32.
Bill Russell played 70 games. Michael Jordan played 35. He played literally half the amount.
I mean, we're talking
And-
finals, Gabe. So we're talking 8 games minimum.
Well, 16 to win
There's-
the championship, right?
Yeah, but you're talking.
I feel like
playoffs.
MJ would have won.
I'm talking
I feel
about, I'm talking
MJ
about
would've-
finals.
You're
I'm talking
talking
about pure
finals.
finals.
Oh, okay.
Finals.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pure finals. I mean, 35 games is no. Only Steph Curry has one less game than Jordan, and he's not going to catch up to that record when you consider like points per game. Jordan by far has the most points per game, most minutes per game. Oh no, I take that back. Bill Russell was, but yeah, it's pretty wild. Pretty wild. I saw that. I was like, man, 35 games and he was the 4th. Holy shit. Like that's insane.
Yeah. So let's get into the basketball. This will be our last thing we talk about. The NBA Finals is here. We just yesterday Game 3 was played. Obviously we split. Miami Heat split in Denver. They come back Game 3, and I think they get shut out 109 to like 90 something, 94, 90 something. Let's talk about this Game 3. The Heat. How do you felt their effort was? Because I mean I have some comments on it, but I'll go to you, JoJo. What were your takeaways from Game 3 of the Heat, and how do you feel about them going forward in the series?
I mean, listen, man. I feel like in this finals, there's so many records that are being broken, and I don't know if it's because it's a number 1 seed playing a number 8 seed, in which it's a record in itself. But for what Murray and Jokic accomplished last game, with Jokic having a 30, 20, and 10 game, which is the first time ever in the NBA's final, that's insane. And of course, it would be against the team you're rooting for, the Miami Heat, which is ridiculous. So with him having these stats, along with, I think Murray had a triple-double as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the only time you had players in the NBA Finals that have a triple. You're not going to win.
But he got in garbage time, though. He got in garbage time.
You're not going to get the W if that's happening on the opposing team. Like, it's just not going to happen. He was making a late run as well, right? It was close at the half, and I keep preaching, like, that is the goal with the Nuggets. You want to keep it as close as possible. And as far as the first 2 games, the Heat have won the third quarter, which I think is the most important quarter as so far in the finals, because it's the first time Denver won the third quarter, and that's when they had that huge stretch. And obviously, it comes down to the fourth quarter to try to close it out, in which they did. So what are your takeaways on that, Gabe or Julian? Whatever you guys saw in that. But like, hey, if the Nuggets continue to break records in this finals, like they're going to be a very tough team to beat. No matter how you try to strategize and and make adjustments, in this series.
Yeah, they don't got an answer for Jokic. They don't got an answer. Their only answer is to outscore him. I think that's like they can't stop him. I mean, the dude, if he's not scoring, he's making incredible passes and assists.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, I forgot who said it on the broadcast, but I completely agree with them when they said it. He was like, he might not be shooting well, but he's having a good game. And I'm like, some players they can't correlate that. They like, oh, if they're not shooting well, then they're having a bad game. But he understands. He's like, look, this isn't my day. How else can I affect the game? And man, the dude's vision is insane. And I say it again, he just makes the shit look so easy. And like, I love Bam, but when you see Bam go one-on-one with him, I mean, Bam's trying his heart out. He's trying so hard. He's doing well. He's in some of these games he's looked good. But like, but then you look at the other end with Jokic, and he's just, oh my god, it comes so smooth. And honestly, it worries me. I mean, I really think that the key for the Heat is really just to outscore him. Because the moment somebody has and I was saying this all playoffs long, that like you need everybody clicking on all cylinders to beat the Nuggets.
Yeah, like I mean, like Gabe was saying too. Like I feel like the Heat need to play at their best to even have a chance, right? And when they showed in the first half, and then but it shows that the firepower for the Nuggets, and they even had the rookie player out of Kansas. I don't know how you pronounce the name, Braun or Brown. He was going head to head at Jimmy. He had a couple clutch plays going down in the fourth quarter. Right, some layups and ones, rebounds, key assists. Right, who would expect him? Right, you're worried about the starting five. Now you got this guy come out of nowhere, putting some damage. It's like, yo, it just doesn't end. Like it's just always next.
And I want to jump on what Julian said. Like Jokic, he probably should have won a fucking third MVP. This guy, you cannot stop. You can Jokic, yo, son of a bitch. I don't give a damn what he call him. This guy, you cannot stop him from scoring, right? And I think the success they had in game 2 was, he scored 41 points in game 2, but you stopped him from getting assists, right? You stopped the other guys from maybe getting more efficient things. So, you can make it hard on him, and but preventing the other guys from getting hot, right? Preventing the Aaron Gordons from getting the Murrays from getting hot. That's the stuff you have to worry about, because those could be more efficient shots, right? If you have to shoot it out, he's very good at passing. So if he's shooting out to a better, more efficient pass, if he's shooting out to the three, preventing that, you can't stop him from scoring, but you can prevent him from going off and being more efficient with his other teammates. So I feel like the biggest thing with Bam,
both.
Here's the thing, though. He always draws the double team, and somebody's always open. The key thing is he finds the open man, which is so annoying to watch, right? Because I'm rooting for the Heat over here, and you double team him even for that split second, or they do a high pick and roll, they get the mismatch. You got Gabe Vincent trying to guard Jokic in the middle of the paint. All he does is float it over with with some finesse, and he's making these buckets. Like, he's very efficient, right? Whereas the Heat in the it's 50-50. You don't even know if they're going to make a little point-blank layup half the time, and they'll rely on the three-point shot. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not fair at this point.
Like, I don't know if you're going to find an American player that plays like him. Just like, it was crazy. I was watching like this like mini thing on documentary. I don't know, it was on YouTube, like 10 minutes or whatever. But it's talking about like, here, like the player development, it's so ingrained to like, it's all individualistically. You got to play well. You got to put up the points. You got to take control. Yeah. Jimmy's got to step up. But like where Jokic and like Luka and all these other, like the way they came up was not like that. They weren't trained to like, play AAU basketball 24/7 all year round. Go. Like, I got to get as many points as possible. So it's throwing off a lot of players. Like when you have a guy like Jokic coming into the league where he's just he's just dispersing it. He's just making it move. He's moving the ball. He's making it easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus like it's tough because you have every all these players want to be the guy. You know what I mean? So it's just like seeing the Nuggets come in here. It's just like it's tough because you got to kind of reevaluate the way you like even play him. You know, play against him because you got to treat it. You got to play him the way like he played growing up. I feel like to like really.
It's a game. It's a game within a game when you're guarding Jokic. And what I really like about his game is that if you really watch, right, when we say he's setting up his players, he's not just setting them up for catch and shoot situation, right? He's not like, oh, I'm driving, I'm kicking out to the open man. No, he's fighting cutters. He's doing dump passes, bounce passes, behind the back passes. Like he's setting them up for easy points. Because
he'll come up to the top of the key, grab the ball, and then his teammate knows to run behind him, and then he'll pass it right back through and open up the lane. Because now with him coming forward, Bam's going to come up, Caleb Martin, whoever is going to come up with him, then leave that paint wide open behind him. And he knows, working with his team, they know how he flows and how he works, that, all right, he's going to come up. I need to cut because now that's going to be open because Bam's going to follow him. So it's just like that kind of knowledge and wherewithal because most people, you're going to pass it off to your big man and you're just going to keep on backing him in until you get close enough to where you take like a quick turnaround shot. But he's like, nah, let's make this shit simple. He's like, we're moving up, right? And I think the Heat and Spoelstra need to like make sure, like, yeah, you can't be doubling Jokic. You have to kind of understand the patterns of what they're doing here, you know, because they the Nuggets in general, they seem like a play-based team. Like they're creating plays, they're creating movements, and the Heat do too. But like the Nuggets just do it on another level that is just different.
And I want to give a shout out to the Nuggets defense as well. Like you know, game 1, game 2, I felt like they had good, you know, man on plays that they were showing. It's just like you know what Jody reiterated. When the Miami Heat shoot well, they'll have a chance. You know, if they're shooting under 30% from 3, they're shooting 20% from the field. You know what I mean, like 30-40% from the field. There's no way in hell that you can keep up with that. Defensively, you know, we don't go back to Bam. Defensively, I feel like Bam, you know, he has his games. You know, he has his spots where he shows up. But the biggest thing with him is like offensively. Like, is he offensively aggressive? That's just the biggest question of him overall that I've had for like the last 3, 4, 5 years ever since we drafted him. It's like, can he take that next step and be aggressive offensively? I feel like he's an all-star caliber, but it's just like, can you take that next step? But he does play. You know, you got to look at both sides of the floor. Jimmy
and I agree with that assessment. Yeah, for sure, I do.
Jimmy hasn't been playing particularly, you know, playoff Himmy wise. So I think he's definitely dealing with some kind of injury. Obviously, he had his ankle and stuff. He's been playing okay, but he hasn't been playoff Jimmy. I mean, he hasn't been the leader, the star of the team these last few games and going into the last series. So I think that's also a big factor. Although he does, you know, Jimmy plays both sides of the floor, and I'll never doubt him. Like, regardless, I know Jimmy is always going to leave it on the floor. He's always going to give it whatever his 100% is, whether he's, you know, 80, 60%. He's going to leave everything on the floor, and I'm never going to doubt him, right? I just imagine that picture of him exhausted in the bubble, him bending over. That's my image of Jimmy. So, but yeah, they got to shoot.
That's what I mean. And I was saying, like, that's what I mean. It's like I feel like they're just getting outsmarted.
We're maxing out.
Like it just seems like they're just getting outsmarted, and it's like you're trying to combat that, which is like, let's go harder. We got to score. And it's just like and versus the Nuggets, they just seem like they're just making it easy. And it's just and that's what I was saying. Where it's like the Heat, like for them to win these games, they have to like everybody has to be hitting. Jimmy's got to get 40+ points. Like it's just you have to. Versus the Nuggets just know how to lay.
I think we all agree. Just Nuggets are just a better team coming into this. We all know that, right? So it's already an uphill battle, right? Even comparing the playoffs, you know, with the Panthers, right? They're the better team, and I just feel like Jimmy's been a little hesitant lately. If you guys been watching, right, he's not playing as aggressive, like offensively, right? I know he's trying to get everyone involved, and they're trying to set up their shooters, but you saw him in that Bucks series. They played like they didn't have anything to lose. Right, he was pulling up from 3, mid-range, driving to the basket, like, you know. So there might be something going on.
That's why That's I was gonna say that leads me to believe that he might be hurt, that he has to rely on his other guys. You got to rely on Gabe Vincent. You got to rely on Duncan Robinson. You're gonna pass it out and shoot because if you can't do it physically yourself, you're gonna have to rely on other people to compensate for what you lack. You know what I mean? That's what I.
Yeah, I did want to ask you guys.
A lot longer now. Their possession a lot longer. You see a lot of pump fakes, two-way. Oh man, honestly, like hold on, let me get into this because the last game I was getting like.
Okay, here we go.
Actually, like impatient. Man, that two-way game, two-player game they got between Jimmy and Bam, bro, it's not working. It's not when they pass the ball to each other, they're running in circles, they pass it back. Bam's in the middle of the paint, trying to pump fake Jokic, he doesn't know what to shoot or not, and then settles on the mid-range, and then it's a bucket on the other end for the Nuggets, and they're just running in circles. I'm like, that's not working.
That's what I'm saying. They're getting outsmarted. It just seems like they're getting out. It's not even like a talent thing. It's just like they're just getting outsmarted, it seems like. And they like don't know what to do other than just try to put up as many points as possible and just try to get open and shoot. Like that's what it seems like as like someone's watch. Because I'm just like, bro, I just feel like they're just getting schooled. I just feel like it's because like I mean, you guys might know better than me, but like how talented outside of like Jokic and Jamal Murray, like how talented is the rest of that Nuggets team? Like individually,
actually pretty talented. Yeah, you got Michael Porter Jr. who was a top draft pick. You got KCP, who's won a championship with the Lakers. You have a veteran in Green. They actually have a squad. You know what I mean? That's been playing together for a while, right? The last few years. And the biggest thing that me and Gabe actually points out is that there's no injuries. You know what I mean? And that's what's been holding them back.
I guess what I'm asking is like if you pluck them from that team, like how good would they be? I guess. Like, do you think there's a lot of individual talent there, or do you think it's just the way they just all gel together makes them elevate everybody's play?
It's actually a mix of both, right? So KCP took the big contract to Denver for his performance.
He left
playing in LA, right? So he earned that money. Porter Jr., he was drafted to the Nuggets as a top 15, top 10 pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Murray is the second coming of Damon Curry right now, which offensively he's just going crazy.
He's turning the league.
Combine that with a freak of nature like Jokic, it's ridiculous. So I think Murray will succeed any other team. Porter, 100% will. He's super young. You got Aaron Gordon, a vet, plays aggressive, grabs offensive rebounds, has his putbacks. You know, we saw what he could do in Orlando, right? I'm not saying necessarily he's the game changer, but he's definitely someone you need on your team. Yeah, it's like he's just an animal. He's gonna fight with you. He's gonna battle with Bam all day. He's gonna bully the smaller players, as we saw in Game 1, right? And he wasn't even the focal point, right? Now the Heat had to make an adjustment to Aaron Gordon out of all people, as you saw in Game 1. So individually, yes, they have a lot of star power. They do.
Yeah, and I think
like as a superstar team. Right, that wasn't the case.
Like, are they all stars or like just good role players? I mean, I guess it's out.
I think they're good together. I don't think individually, like Jamal Murray. I don't think of him as a one on a team, but 2 or 3, like he's definitely at a piece. But their biggest piece is obviously Jokic, and they just have tons of guys that can fill in. Like if one guy's down, then next man up. Aaron Gordon, these guys, Michael Porter. One thing I want to point out is like, objectively, like talking about Jokic, they don't have a big man. Our biggest guys are Bam Adebayo. Our biggest guys, you want to say Yurtsevin, who's on the bench, who hasn't played a game in a long ass time. Cody Zeller, they throw at him, or Kevin Love. We're throwing Kevin Love, an old man Kevin Love, gray hair Kevin Love. We're throwing Cody Zeller at Jokic. Like, this guy's an MVP. Like, the closest guy that comes to it is Bam Adebayo. And Bam is kind of a skinny, linky kind of guy. And, Jokic is just
he looks more small dominant next to Jokic.
Yeah,
he's
just dominant. As big as these guys are are huge guys. If I stood next to fucking Bam Adebayo, he'd be huge. But compared to
the thing is, Jokic is stocky. He's just a big. He's not tall. He's a big guy. He's not just tall.
He pushes the ball up the floor. And another thing to add to Jokic's arsenal, bro, he can make free throws. He gets fouled. That's an automatic 2. Like, he's scoring no matter what. You don't have to worry about him at the line. So honestly, they don't really want to foul him. It's not a thing like Jokic in the paint. Like, they're trying to play defense on him without trying to foul him.
Shout out to Shaq.
The big fundamental.
I mean, listen, I'm gonna say going in. So key components going in Game 4. You got to win one at home. Even a series at 2, your shooters got to shoot. You got to come in like you came in at game 2, right? They made the adjustments and they were knocking on the shots. And it's gonna come down to trading baskets at the end, right? So when you have a missed basket, Miami Heat side, you got to play that transition defense in which Nuggets have been destroying you guys. You guys can't get back, right? Those point blank misses, those little floaters you guys miss, which will turn into an easy bucket, that's got to stop. Or just make those shots. You know what I mean? Like make your layups, make your little floaters, make it easy for yourself. I know it's easier said than like, but you know,
I mean that's what I was gonna say. Just like watching, it seems like the Heat are just trying to. Not saying they're relying too much on the three, but it's just they're shooting a lot of threes. They're shooting a lot, and I think like you said, like you got to get the easy points like when you have it, like don't because then you get into that battle where it's like you're only gonna win is if you're hot, and then like do you really want to put yourself in a situation where it's like I know we're just having an off night tonight. Well, it's like all right, you have just like we said with like Jokic, like, all right, you ain't shooting well. You ain't shooting well. Like, all right, how can we reevaluate this to like make it easy? All right, I'm gonna feed it off to people who are hot, or create plays for people to make those easy points. And like Gabe was saying with like Jimmy and Bam just going back and forth, running in circles. It's like you're just making it tough on you. You know what I mean? So. I don't know. And
I think a big part, like I said, I think there's something going on with Jimmy. If Jimmy, he's kind of a put his neck to the rim kind of guy. He gets his, running through the lane, getting fouls. That's going to the free throw line. He's also a pretty good free throw shooter. And if he can't get those calls, if he can't make that, then you got to find another way to score. You got to find guys who are hotter and more efficient. And that's when your Gabe Vincents, your Max Strus, your Duncan Robinsons, they got to be hot. If they're not hot, it's not looking good. Not looking good for the rest of the series. So we'll see. We'll see going forward.
And when Duncan Robinson,
any predictions?
A lot of times correlates that they usually win when he's hot. Even though I think he was hot game 3, but they lost. Right?
Yeah.
Was he? Did he do good last game?
I think he did okay. I think overall shooting was like 30%. They've been shooting at like 50, 47, 43%. That's something crazy. That's when they win. That's when so shooting 30% is,
and that just I guess it just scares me. It's like I just feel like it's like a coin flip at that point where just I don't know that playing like that just scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's probably all they have. That's all they have to work with. Mm-hmm. So,
because I don't know if Spoelstra could really cook up something like interesting and to go up against them, but this late,
listen, on all. Even talent is even on the floor. I'm gonna go with coaching, and I feel like Spo has that experience. I'll go with Spo. I'm gonna stick with him, man. I feel like he's gonna pull the best out of the Miami Heat, even if it's not better than the Nuggets. He's gonna try to put the best guys on the floor. So we'll see. A little bit down on game 3, but we'll see game 4. We're still at home.
Game 4 is a must-win game. I'll tell you right now, it's a must-win game. Tie the series and you go to Denver.
Yeah, no way you're gonna win 2 away from Denver. You gotta win this home game.
Yeah. So we'll see, man. That's it for this weekend of Real Fans Podcast. Julian, tell them where they can find all the things. Tell them where they find the FC things, our things, all the things.
You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, and we're on all social media platforms as well.
And we appreciate it. Listen. A lot of exciting news. Right now, we're in the middle of the summer. Miami is hot. It's the hottest. Miami is the hottest. South Florida is the hottest spot in sports right now. So we appreciate it. Thank y'all for checking us out, downloading, and subscribing. Thank y'all for listening to us. We'll see you here next week, right here, Real Fans Podcast. Peace.
Peace out, everybody.